Okay, we're going to go over the new mixing console a little bit here. This is a Soundcraft device. Soundcraft's the manufacturer. It's a nice little board that we've picked out. So we went over where the snake channels come in from the altar here. That's at the top of the board. You could plug something directly into the board here in a line input. This is like a guitar cable input here, which we're not using much and may never use. The insert point we're not going to go into right now. This is the input gain. This is where you set the level dependent on how hot the signal is coming into the board, as opposed to the fader, which determines how much signal is going out of the board. Typically what I do when I'm setting up a board to get a good blend, I'm just putting the fader at unity or the 0 mark, which is referred to as unity. And then I bring up the input gain to a level that seems appropriate for the room. Right below the input gain is a button that's got a little mark that says 100 Hz. What this is a low cut filter. Typically with a vocal mic, you don't want a lot of this stuff that's real low. It just causes popping and booming. So with a vocal mic, we're going to have that depressed. Whereas with an instrument like a piano, we might like to have some of that low end more present. So we're going to leave the button up. Below the low cut filter, we have our EQ section. This is where all the tone controls are.
And let's point out that that's the same all the way across the board.
That's right. We're looking to look at channel 1 here. We've got 20 inputs on this board. 1 and 20 and everything in between are exactly identical. So each channel operates the same as any other channel. At the top of the EQ section, you've got a knob marked HF for high frequency. And this would be like the treble on your stereo, or the high end.
EQ meaning?
EQ meaning equalization. Below that, you've got a knob, 2 knobs that are actually marked MF for mid frequency. The top one is white, and what it does is select the frequency you're going to affect with the knob below it. That is to say, as the markings indicate on here, I'm not going to get too deep into this, but it's marked 150 totally counterclockwise and 3.5 K totally clockwise, which is a range, a frequency range that you can affect by this knob either decreasing or increasing the selected frequency. This is called a parametric equalizer. Below that is the low frequency, which would be similar to the bass on your stereo system, or the low end. One of the nice things about the sweepable mid, which is another way of talking about a parametric equalizer, is you can select a problem frequency that may be feeding back. Might be an annoying frequency that you want to eliminate, attenuate, or if you feel that something in the frequency spectrum is lacking, you can select that frequency here and boost it.
And that's something you really have to have kind of a trained ear for.
Yeah, and with practice, I recommend, if you get the opportunity, to maybe put something on with your iPod or MP3 player or a CD to play around with this on an open channel, on an available channel, and just see what happens when you do different things with the equalizer.
And for now, for our purpose on a Sunday morning, most of that's set.
That's going to be preset. I've preset it, and chances are you won't have to fool with it much. But I wanted to give
somebody with a trained ear may be able to make some good adjustments.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's enough about the channel equalization. Below that, we've got our auxiliary sends. Auxiliary 1 on this board is what's feeding the monitor speakers on the altar. This is what Ross and Todd are hearing up there.
And Judy.
and Judy, or whoever may be involved in the service.
And that's the light
or
green
performance. That's the
knob.
light green knob right below the EQ section. And kind of going back to what I was saying about this being the input level, this being the output level, this also is an output level. And typically what I'll do is, you can see I've got these all straight up at 12 o'clock. And whatever you do at the input level affects this output level as well as this output level. I recommend just leaving these at 12 o'clock. And what we've done in setting the board up is just made our adjustments at the input gain, and this keeps it real simple. In effect, what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to hear through the sanctuary speakers the same thing that anybody on the altar is hearing through their monitors by making your adjustments from the input gain.
And suppose a musician or a speaker needs more monitor than what we're hearing in the room. Is it possible to adjust that?
Of course it is. Like I say, this is just an easy way to approach it by keeping this at 0 and this at 12 o'clock. Should an artist, a performer on the altar need to hear, say Todd wanted to hear his voice louder in the monitors than you wanted to hear it in the sanctuary, you would of course increase his level to his monitor here on the auxiliary send.
Okay.
The auxiliary send has a master, which is over here. Also the same color as the channel sends. Below that we've got auxiliary 2, which is currently not in use. If we wanted to have another separate speaker system on the altar, we could route it through that. Below that is an effects knob. This mixer has an onboard effects engine or processor. That's what the lexicon is. It's actually a device within the device. And this has got reverbs, delays, flanges, and various other effects available on it. And you can bring the effect into a channel by turning up the purple or FX knob on the given channel that you want to affect. And it returns to the channel marked effects. And it has a mute button, just as all these channels on the board have a mute button. With the light off, the channel's activated in the case of the effects, and you bring up the effect to the desired level here.
And currently we're not using any effects on any of our instruments or voices, but there may come a time where I like, a little chorus on my guitar or something like that, and we can adjust
Sure,
that.
sometimes reverb sounds nice on a voice, but that is definitely a special application that you're not likely to use during a church service, unless Ross wants it. So, below the effects knob, we have the pan knob, which is left and right, would be similar to your balance knob on a stereo, and basically it's saying I want to send more to the left output than the right output, or vice versa. We're going to leave those straight up because everything in the sound system has been adjusted so that it works optimally with these at 12 o'clock.
So we won't have to make any adjustments to the yellow knob.
If you see a yellow knob off center, please put it back in the center. We went over the mute button. When it's lit, the channel shut off. When it's not lit, the channel is on. Below that, we have a button marked PFL. PFL stands for pre-fader listen. What this does is it allows you to listen to one channel through your headphones. It would be plugged into this jack here. You hit the button, you bring up your headphone level with this red knob right below the headphone jack, and that way you can isolate any given input on the board and listen to it.
That's neat.
Below that, we've got a button that's marked mix with the button up, sub with the button down. We're going to leave these buttons up. What that's doing is it's routing the channel either to the mix output in the up position.